We're going to be staying with the topic of templates, which has been allowing us to create our own data types. We're going to be looking at class templates in this video, and these need to be designed all inside the same file. In the past videos, we've made classes and we put them in two different files. We've had them in the CPP file that we created and in the header file. The header file would have our function header, and then the CPP file would have our function body, and then we would bring it all back to the main at the end to put the order that we want everything to be executed in. And that worked out fine. But what we're working with today, class templates, we need to have these inside of the same file. This means you can either design it all inside of the header or you can put it all inside of the main. I'm going to be putting everything inside the main, and if you're a bit unfamiliar with how we make classes inside the main, because we've pretty much only been working with putting them inside of different files this series, I'm going to go at a very slow pace through this video so you should be able to understand exactly what's going on. So like the other videos, we're going to start off by writing the keyword template. I'm going to put triangle braces. I'm going to write the name of the data that we want to create. I'm going to be working with turtle data. Now I know normally when we're going to be creating data, if you have any experience with C++, we're normally only going to put like one letter here. So we'll say we're going to make T data rather than making turtle data. But just to make everything nice and simple, I'm just going to put a big word just so you guys know exactly where the created data is going to be in our program. So we're going to be working with turtle data. Now I'm going to go ahead and create a class. And this is like what we would be writing inside of the header file. So I'd go ahead and say I'm working with the lemon class, and I'm going to put the usual public, protected, and private tabs. I'm going to start off with the private tab this time. I'm going to write private here, and I'm going to go ahead and create two variables. And these are going to be using the data that we created, which is turtle data. I'm going to say I have variable 1, and I'm going to have turtle variable 2. Simple enough. Now I'm going to go ahead and write public. And I'm going to go ahead and create my constructor. So I'm going to write the lemon constructor because we're in the lemon class. And I'm going to be passing through two parameters. I'm going to be passing through the turtle parameter x and the turtle parameter y. Now I'm actually going to open up the body of the constructor inside of the class here. We're allowed to do this. There's nothing wrong with it. So I'm going to open it up here. This would be everything that you'd be seeing inside of the CPP file usually. And this is what you'd be seeing inside of your header file. And then normally if we had all this inside the CPP file, we'd have to write lemming, the 2 colons and all that like we saw before. If I'm writing it inside here, we do not need to do that because it already knows that we're inside of the lemon class. Those were to indicate that we're working with the class lemming. So inside here, I'm going to go ahead, I'm actually going to go set variable 1. I'm going to set that to x. I'm going to set variable 2 to y. Now this means that whenever we're inside the main and we were to call upon an object from the lemming class, I could put brackets and I can go ahead and put two numbers here, and each number would correspond to y and x, and then we'd have x, y, and then they both be stored over here. And you see the process that we've done this many times in this series. So we have all that there. Now we're going to go ahead and design one more function. This is going to be an addition function which will allow us to add variable 1 and variable 2. Now I could go ahead and design it inside of here. I can put it inside the public here and write it right here and do what I did with the constructor by making the body here, and I'd be able to save a bit of notation. However, I'm going to actually design this outside of the class, which means I will have to use the notation we saw in our CPP files earlier on in the series. The only reason I'm going to do this is because what we're doing has a really specific notation, and I want to make sure you guys grasp the entire concept, and you'll probably get it much easier or be a bit more simple if I do it outside of the class. So we're going to do that instead. So I'm actually going to go ahead and write that we'll have a turtle function, so I'm expecting turtle data in return, and we're going to call this the addition function. Simple enough. We're using turtle data, and it's going to be called the addition function. Now I'm going to head outside of the class. That means obviously if I'm going to be working with a function, I'm going to have to need to write the name of the class, so lemming, 2 colons, and then name of the function. Now, whenever I go to create a new function, I need to go ahead and copy this template class turtle and write that before. So I'm going to go ahead and write this before, and any more functions that I were to write under here, I'm going to need to write this template class turtle. So make sure you remember that. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say we're working with turtle data and we're expecting turtle data in return. I'm going to go and say that we're inside the lemming class. Now normally we'd go ahead and put the 2 colons here and then write the name of the function, then move on with our lives, right? We saw this here when we created the CPP files. We have this format. Except not with turtle, we'd have it with integer or double. We also have to take into account one thing. We need to go ahead and actually put triangle braces here and then write turtle as well. I know it's a bit annoying, it's a bit redundant, but you need to remember this. Whenever you're creating a function here, say no matter how many functions you're going to create here, you'll have to copy this template class turtle. You'll have to write the name of the data before. That's the data you expect in return. You'll write the name of the class, and you'll write once again the name of the data in triangle braces. You'll put your 2 colons, and then you put the name of the function, and then you put the body. I know, it's annoying, but we're going to work through it. Don't worry. So inside of here, I'm just going to simply write return, and I'm going to want variable 1 plus variable 2. So this means when I go inside the main, I'll be able to set x and y over here, these two parameters. I can set them to whatever I want. Then it will be stored in the variable 1 and variable 2, and then I'll ask for them to be added together over here, and then we'll get what we want. So we have everything designed over here. Now we can head inside the main. I'm going to go ahead and create a lemming and lemming object. So I write the name of the class and I create an object. And now if I want to pass these two parameters through the constructor, I'll just need to list them up here. So I'm going to write 20 and 30. Now we forgot something. We're getting an error here. What could possibly go wrong? Well, when we're working with class templates, we actually need to tell it which type of data we want to work with. Normally, in the past, with the functions, it was able to detect what we wanted to work with because we would actually write it through our variables. Well, in this case, we're not creating any variables down here. We need to go ahead and write here between the name of the class, which is lemming, and the name of the object, lemming object, you want to write the type of data you're going to be working with. So in this case, I'm going to be working with integer data, and you're going to write that in triangle braces. There's a lot of small notation things you need to remember with what we're looking at today, and it's a bit confusing, so I would recommend watching this video twice. Now that we have everything here, we see we have no errors, and we can go ahead and simply print out the function addition. We'll go ahead and use the lemming object to access it because it is still inside of a class. Even though we wrote it outside the class here, you still need to access it inside the class because it is a part of the lemming class. Sorry. So I'll write the addition function right here. And this means that we're going to be passing 20 and 30 through as x and y, and those are going to be equal to variable 1 and variable 2. And when I build and run this, we should be expecting to get a 50 back in return. The build has succeeded, and we get the 50 in return. So I know this was a really confusing video. This is a topic it's a bit intricate. You need to know what's going on. I can walk you guys through it one last time. So we will, up here, we create a class lemming. This was what we see inside of our header file, except for this over here. We didn't normally see that part. But this is everything we saw inside of our header file. We created two private variables. We created our data type up here, which means we're going to be using turtle data, which is any general type of data, generic data. It can be anything we want, and we specify it later on, which we did down here. Now we go through here, we create our constructor, and we allow the constructor to allow us to set two parameters equal to the variables we created. And this is going to allow us to set some values for these parameters inside of our main over here when we go ahead and create an object. So I set them right over here. And then we had the addition function over here, which would be adding them together. Now the key notations you need to remember here is, number one, we're going to be using turtle data, the generic data we created around all over the place inside of our function because that's what we want to use. We have turtle data here, turtle data here, turtle data here, turtle data here, and then turtle data here. And then when we want to go and create another function, and that function's not inside of the class itself, you're going to want to use the notation here. You're going to need to use the template here again to say that we're going to have class turtle data. Then you're going to say that you're going to be expecting turtle data in return. You're going to say the name of the class. Then you're going to once again say the name of the data you're going to be using. I know it's redundant. Then you're going to put the two colons, which means now it's time to see what function we want to use. And we're going to say we're going to access the function addition or whatever function you choose to create. And this one I just asked for variable 1 and variable 2 to be added together. We know that variable 1 and variable 2 are using turtle data, which means we're going to be expecting turtle data in return. I know, it's confusing. And then once we get down here, remember, it doesn't know what type of data these two things are. I know they look like integers, but they could possibly be doubles, just we haven't said anything about the decimal places yet. So you need to make sure you specify this right here because we do not have any variables created in the main that we can pass through this entire thing. This is the main thing you need to remember. You'll need to include between the name of the class and between the object you create, indicate what type of data you're using, and then you simply go ahead and print out the function. It's confusing, so I do expect some comments below with some questions. So leave those below if you have any questions, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you guys enjoyed the rest of the series. We're so close to the end. I think we have maybe like 10 videos left, and I should be able to wrap it up. I'm going to have some practice problems and maybe some final exam walkthroughs towards the end of the series, so I hope you guys enjoy that. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you guys in the next video.